What's up, guys? It's Brad here. Today, I'm going to talk about something, or I'm going to try to talk about something that uh, I've been thinking about for a while, several months now, and I've been sitting here in bed. I got the lights off, trying to close my eyes and slowly breathe in and out to hype myself up because I've been here in bed for a little over 3 minutes. I'm sure that's going to make all the difference compared to the several months beforehand. Uh, so yeah, this is gonna be a little bit. Also, I have my fan on, my ceiling fan. I'm kind of like sweating almost. Ugh, I'm gonna need another shower probably. So yeah, this is hard for me to talk about, but it needs to be done. If not for posterity's sake, but to get this shit out of my head. Uh, that would be pretty great because it's driving me fucking crazy. Um, I have actually talked a little bit about this to a couple of people. Um, uh, Depression and mental health and whatever. I think what was it? It might have been back in December, and we'll get into that in a bit. But I remember telling a couple of people, and I don't have a therapist, and I'm not very close to my family. I don't really talk to them. Uh, so this is probably the best opportunity for now. Think of it as a stepping stone, sure. But anyway, I talked to a couple of friends online uh, a while ago, and I didn't really get the response that I was hoping for. I was looking for maybe some insight, but basically, the response was talk to someone to get help. Great, didn't think of that. And the other one was rather dismissive, um, which wasn't very helpful at all. But basically, they said, "Hey, everyone feels like shit. Sort of get over it, right?" Which God, that makes it even worse. I'm coming to you with my problems. Like, fuck, dude, that's not good. Yeah, everyone feels like shit. That doesn't make it better. Now let's talk about it. Uh, it's a topic that should be discussed more. So anyway, this is actually the farthest I've gotten without having to restart. Trying to sit in here thinking of fucking intros, "Hey, what's up, guys? It's Scarce here, and I got something different for you." So I didn't do the meme intro. So good thing I never mentioned that here. It's good. That's some fuck. Oh, here we go. What was is it levity or brevity? I keep forgetting which one is which. One is like, "Hey, let's do this quick," and then the other is like, "Bring a lighthearted." Because I don't use those words. I don't remember which one is which. What's the one where you're bringing light to whatever? It doesn't fucking matter. Um, I'm gonna have to do that kind of shit to get through this, because it makes everything easier. So anyway, several minutes in, probably put a time. Whatever. I'm not doing a timestamp. Fuck it. I'm a little more relaxed now. This is good. So anyway, back in November 2018, it's very important. So I fell back into depression in November. Uh, I'm sort of good now, but well, good in air quotes. Um, I'm much better than I was since then, but I fell back into depression in November, and this is where I should. We need to hop back through the timeline. I'm doing hand gestures. I hop back and I fucking move my arm to the left. I don't know why I'm doing that, but whatever. So November 2018, I fell back into depression. How do I want to do this? Well, I want to do it chronologically, so I need to go back to when I was younger because there's a catalyst to my problems that I should discuss for context and clarity, and that leads into shit that started happening in November. Uh, this is a fucking mess. This is a mess. I'm not starting over. You know. Anyway, let's see. So the catalyst would have to be my fear of heights. And I don't know how much I've talked about my fear of heights over the years. I know I mentioned it in like some offhand comments back when I did Call of Duty videos. But I don't know how much since then I've done it. So I've been afraid of heights since before I even knew what the hell that was. I remember specifically, I think water safari. How common is water safari? I don't know if that's like a global thing. Hey, maybe I'll go to the wiki page later and learn something about it. Anyway, I remember going there when I was really young, probably a toddler or maybe even younger than that. But, I could walk. And I remember going up this like slide thing. Ooh. It's like these white metal grated staircase, and I'm going up, and I remember feeling uncomfortable. I didn't know why. I just knew I was. That's the earliest memory of it, of fear of heights that I have. But it didn't really become a problem until 7th grade. That was in middle school. Fuck, what year was that? I don't know. What year was that? I don't know. I was like 11 or 12 or some shit. And I graduated in 2011. Anyway, so in 7th grade, actually, I guess I should preface this with like my personality changes over the years. So when I was a young kid, I was sort of, not sort of, I really was. I was energetic and like a loudmouth retard, right? If there was a social situation, I'm spouting out stupid shit out of my mouth. Oh, God, it's fucking embarrassing. I really don't want to think about that. Oh, gosh, just a lot of cringe memories. Which, hey, there's the silver lining. My problem made me less of a fucking loudmouth retard. So anyway, whatever. So in 7th grade, I remember going to class. Actually, I guess we can go back to 6th grade as well. Like, in 6th grade, I had one class on the 3rd floor of my middle school. It was art. I fucking remember the very place it is. I remember a lot of shit from school, specifically, which is, I think, kind of odd. But hey, maybe that's why, because it was traumatic or some shit. I don't know. So I had one class on the 3rd floor in middle school. And I remember that, being somewhat of a problem. I did it fine. It was whatever. I was like, oh, this is so annoying. I hate this and whatever. But in 7th grade is when it really started to fucking, like, kick off. I'm doing hand gesture, whatever. I'm just going to do hand gestures forever. I remember walking up to the 3rd floor in 7th grade because I had a lot more classes on the 3rd floor in 7th grade. Because usually it was just like the 1st and the 2nd. I don't know what the hell the 3rd floor was doing with 7th grade, but that fucked me up. And it wasn't just like I had to go up and down the 3rd floor. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm there like the whole day or whatever, but that makes it a little more difficult. But so I just remember going to the 3rd floor one day, and it was like a light switch that clicked in my head. I made it to the top. I glanced out the window, and it just kind of like froze up. And I couldn't really do the heights in the stairs shit anymore. So I remember running back downstairs and crying in a bathroom. And I think it was a principal or something that came to me. Like, I don't know how the fuck. Like, was he just passing by? Did he hear me? I don't think I was crying very loud. I don't know what the hell he was doing there. But I just remember someone came there to see me. I don't remember what happened after it. So I remember, let's see, it might have been a week or two. I remember not going back to school for a little bit after that day. And then when I finally did go back, They put me inside this one room. Is where they were putting some like troublemakers, like in school detention or whatever. I remember there's specifically a room that they called the in school suspension room, but this was before I went there. Whatever. I remember there were two kids in this one classroom that I went in because hey, I couldn't go to my fucking classes. I had like a mental breakdown or some shit. With the heights, and I couldn't do it anymore. Uh, so they put me in this room, and I remember a guidance counselor was like, "Hey, if they cause any problems, come to me." And I didn't do that. Remember this one kid? I know his fucking name, too. Oh man, now I'm remembering shit that happened related to him because of that event, like in the days later, whatever. Uh, this one kid was a dick, and he threw like a pencil at me, and I went to get it, but he also wanted to get it, and he shoved me, and I sort of like lightly tapped him in the face with my hand. I really wish I hit him harder. Like that's what, out of all the regrets in my life, that is a big one. I really wish I would have hit him hard, like pretty good, because it was more like a reactionary thing. Like he pushed me. I don't remember if I almost fell back or not, but it was like a reactionary. I swung my arm, and I hit him very lightly. He was really annoyed. I'm glad he didn't beat the shit out of me and kill me though, because he probably could have done that. I never had a fight. Uh, so after that happened, I left, went to my guidance counselor. This sort of is not really this is sort of irrelevant to the mental health and depression thing, but since it's part of the catalyst, that's what we're gonna call it, the Mass Effect 3 catalyst. It's great. Why did I have to use that word and remind me of shitty writing? Whew. So then I told the guidance counselor about the punch, and I went to the in-school suspension room. And I remember this one lady in there who was watching. There were like 3 other kids in there, I think. Doesn't matter. She was a cunt. She really was. He was like, "Oh, you can punch a student, but you can't go up the stairs." Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize those were like mutually exclusive or equivalent things there. That's weird. Because if I have a fear of heights, then I must not be physically possible to hit someone. I guess whatever the fuck she was thinking, she's probably crazier than I am. Wonder what she's up to. Probably still being a cunt. So anyway, let's see. So remember when I said I was that energetic, loudmouth retard? Well, over the course of that school year, I became much more isolated and socially reserved. Is that how I want to phrase it? I'm not going to sit here and think about better ways of phrasing that, which I sometimes do, because, the shit that I'm going to delve into, I've had basically conversations in my head of like things I would say if I were to talk to a family or a therapist or whatever. So I just have these conversations in my head. Oh, okay, well, this is this, that, this, and that, all the way from 7th grade to now. Whew. Just thinking all the things I'd say. There. Whatever. We'll get back to this. So, yeah, I became more isolated over time. I'm not sure how quickly it happened, but I was now this different person, basically. I developed severe social anxiety. I was socially reserved, shy. All these things. Couldn't handle being around people anymore either. Which was a real buzzkill. Let's see. So, yeah, that led to depression in high school. Let's see, I'm trying to think of like how in depth I want to go and say about these because some of these things I don't feel comfortable sharing. I don't know. We'll see when I get to it. But I remember for a long time, I just kind of wanted to die. but I was never suicidal or anything. I had plenty of, like, oh man, I wish I was dead, but I was never like, oh, I'm gonna do it. Because I was afraid of death. It scares the shit. It still kind of scares the shit out of me. So I was never suicidal, but there were times where I wished that I was. And for a while, I was living, not living, but just waiting to die. I remember sometimes I thought, it'd be great if I just got sick. Because then, I wouldn't have to do it. It would just happen. Like, oh, cancer, some other sickness or whatever. Maybe die in my sleep. That could be great. But that ever. And I suppose now, really the thought is, I do want to live, but I don't know how. Still working on that one. So, anyway, I graduated in 2011, and I remember, let's see, I don't remember the exact year, but a couple of years after graduating is when I realized, wait a minute, I'm not depressed anymore. I don't know what it was, but maybe I just surrounded myself with people I liked talking to, and that either got rid of it or sort of blanketed it and pushed it away into the shadows temporarily or some shit. I don't know. But yeah. And during high school, I'm sort of backtracking a little bit now because of trying to keep this shit chronological, but I'm forgetting some details and remembering. I knew this would fucking happen. But basically, very important detail, along with the social anxiety and other things, I also I grew very apathetic towards things. Like, oh, plane crash, 300 people in it. Read that in the news. Yeah, that sucks. Moving on. Gosh, there's this one memory I still have of, I don't know what year it was, but I was going down to lunch, and I saw a student on the ground. I don't remember what grade it was. I really don't. I mean, it's hard to remember what grade lunch was in, right? Because that's in all of them. So anyway, there was this girl on the floor. I don't know why she was on the floor. She could have, tripped down the stairs or something. I don't know. That's what I suspect happened. She was just lying on her back, visibly in pain, and I just kept walking. That's another one of my weird regrets. That just kind of, occurs. That one comes up every now and then. I'm like, man, I wish I would have done something. But, I mean, I assumed they would be fine. I don't know who the fuck it was. I don't know if I ever saw them again. If I did, I didn't recognize them. But, gosh, part of me is like, man, I wanted to see if they were okay. But I figured they would be okay anyway. And I had the social anxiety, so, I was like, fuck it, I'm going to keep walking. So that's just a weird thing that just enters my mind sometimes. Gosh. Now I started saying that when I was in the middle of another thought. Now I forgot what I was talking about. What I can do, I can stop the recording and rewind, and I'll get back to you. Apathy. That's what I was talking about. I was talking about apathy. What a great fucking thing. Basically, didn't have any emotional responses to tragic shit like that. Which, I guess was kind of great in retrospect compared to what I was going through since November and then in December. But the thing is that apathy over the years since graduating, that slowly started to come back. So, a plane crashed and 300 people died. And it's like, oh, fuck. That might make me tear up a little bit. Same with any other random thing, like, oh, this person got murdered, or all these people died in a car crash, or there are this many suicides a year, this many teens that die in a car crash a year. I mean, victims of human trafficking and sexual slavery and exploitation and all this other shit and school shootings and just there's just so much fucking shit that can happen where it's like that might break me up, dude. Might cry about it. Which I guess is kind of normal, I would imagine, for maybe a lot of people. But it's kind of foreign for me. Because I went so long without that sort of thing. So, let's see. Then I went to college, right, after graduation. I don't remember how long I did that, but basically it was I went to college for, what was it, a semester or a year or something. I don't know. Oddly enough, I still remember talking about this in a Modern Warfare 2 video on the what's the Brazil map with the Muslim picture frame that people got upset over. I don't what favela. I remember talking about college on a favela map. Whatever. That sucked too. Gosh, I didn't go back to college because of social anxiety. I thought, maybe I'll go back another time. And then, well, guess what? It's now 2019 and I haven't gone back. So, gosh, I really fucked up in letting fear run my life. Still doing it. Still doing it. So, how long have I been fucking talking to? I feel like I haven't gotten anywhere. We're now 20-something minutes in. Great. Didn't even get to November yet. So this might be a long one. Maybe I will put timestamps in after all. But, I don't know. Why should I put timestamps in? The context in chronological order. I feel like that's important, but I don't know. We'll see. So November. There were a couple of things that happened in November. November. Oh, gosh. So anyway, a couple of months leading into November, I was getting really anxious about my cat. Okay, bear with me. I fucking love my cats. And this cat was the last one of this, like, particular family of cats that I've had for so long. Gosh, I remember a long time ago. Let's see. I remember going to my dad's house, and he was like, "Hey, you want a cat?" I was like, "Yeah, I want a cat." So he gave me a cat, and I named it Blackie. And then she had a whole shit ton of kittens, like, eventually. And I loved this family of cats that I had. Now, I love their fur pattern. You look at my channel avatar, and I use it for profile. I use it for profile pictures on, like, everything. It's like my butterscotch cat with a Santa hat. Obviously he's not wearing a Santa hat. I put that image over the cat image in Paint. But I think that picture of Lucky was, I don't know what year it was. It might have been 2011, might have been 2000, it might have been 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I don't know. I could probably find, I don't know, the picture's on my computer somewhere. I could probably find it, but so that cat, because I've lost so many cats over the years, I don't even, only a few of them have ever, like, died of, like, oh, it's old as shit and it died now. Most of them have just vanished. Blackie vanished. How many years ago? It was sometime before I moved. Gosh, what? I don't know what year that was. That was over 5 years ago. It's definitely over that long ago. And I remember for a long time, I had dreams about my cats. Sometimes I still do, which surprises me. But yeah, Lucky, I dreaded, I was very anxious about Lucky dying or disappearing. And then it happened. It actually fucking happened. So, and I was also going to be moving soon. moving back to where I originally lived. Well, I don't know about original. I can't say originally lived here, but I moved back to where I lived before I moved in the first place this time around. So I delayed that a couple of weeks, and it's like, well, shit. I guess he's gone. Couldn't find him anywhere. Never came back for food. Sometimes I think, like, gosh, what if some fucking asshole saw my cat sleeping in the grass and decided to, like, kill it? Or maybe someone backed over him in their driveway. Maybe the pound took him and they euthanized him. All these terrible ideas enter my mind of my poor little baby. Because, you know, I love my cats more than I like most people, you know. It's you know, there was a level of intimacy there that just didn't exist elsewhere. Like, oh man, look at this cute little creature. It loves me. It purrs. It's so happy when I'm petting him and I'm feeding him. I miss him sometimes, but usually I'm just angry. I feel like I could have done more. You know, how long do you go before he's can't find him, he's not coming back? You know, someone took him or he's dead. I don't fucking know. I mean, I would rather know that he's dead instead of not knowing, because, you know, whatever, but gosh. Let's see. What else happened in November? Oh yeah, I was feeling really lonely. Remember what I said about social anxiety and all that other shit? I don't have friends. I don't talk to people in person. All that is online, and they're great. I love them. Great people. But it's not the same. So I was feeling really lonely, dreading the cat, and then, oh gosh, I don't know if I want to admit this, but I watched some really sappy shit on Netflix. Oh man, that really fucked me up too. And remember what I said about the fear of heights? And the apathy and all that shit. How, it was like a light switch, and then there it is. Like when I watched this shit on Netflix, I was crying. And that sort of was like another switch of emotions in my brain. Which in retrospect, I don't regret happening because I took up writing. Well, I sort of wrote for a while now, but it was more of like, oh, I have an idea for a video game with a story, so I write down like characters and, you know, guidelines or plans for what this game would be. So I write down ideas, but I never really sat down and like wrote stories. Like full on, hey, this is like episodic in nature or what have you. And anyway, while writing throughout, I think I started heavily going into it. It must have been December after I moved. I believe so. Yeah, okay. Yeah, watch the sappy shit on Netflix. And that made me pretty sad. And combined with the loneliness and my cat, three things, that's pretty fucking shitty to make me feel not good. And then, you know, I was thinking, then all of that led into like, oh man, I have all these life regrets. You know, it got me thinking about other shit, you know, that I missed out on life. Like I didn't have an adolescence, and man, middle school and high school was a fucking nightmare. And, you know, all these little things, you know, things that would keep me up at night when trying to sleep, you know, back when I was in school, because that happened a lot. Wasn't very pleasant. So, yeah, I basically took a lot of the things that I was feeling and I was just writing. You know, if I if I was angry or sad or had a feeling that I wanted to put into words, well, I put it into the story. I didn't write journals or diaries or anything. I don't care to do that, but I like writing fictional stories. Like back in, gosh, when did I start writing Star Trek fan fiction? I don't even remember. Was it April? It might have been April. Whatever. So yeah, Star Trek fan fiction, which I have like 5 different stories of now, episodic in nature. A teen drama, high school thing, and I dreamt about some like zombie thing one time, and that started a story. Started writing that. Post-apocalyptic thing. Like some superpowered thing that needs to be fleshed out. Anyway, basically, I love writing now, and that's very therapeutic. Even if I'm not directly writing about things I'm feeling, it's therapeutic in nature. Oh, someone's messaging me on Discord because I'm taking too long because they wanted to play a game, and I was like, nah, something I really want to do because it's been on my mind for several months now. So I was like, yeah, I don't know how long it will take me, but I'll get back to you. So writing has been very good. I think writing has saved me in many ways, but there's still a long way to go. Okay, so I think that ties up November. Hopefully I didn't forget anything, because I'm probably going to forget things. And I don't want to do that. That would be great if I didn't. So December is when I got to my lowest. Like, December was when I felt shit that I never even got close to feeling when I was back in high school. Like, shit, I was sad then, and I wanted to die then, but I was drowning. In December, I was drowning in emotion, basically. Did a lot of crying, a lot of thinking, too. I remember there were days where, I was lying on the couch downstairs a couple of different times, 5 hours, just thinking on the couch of what I would say and what I would do. There were times where I just looked out the window. Gosh, I remember. Here is something that did stick out to me, though. Another one of the depressing stories, because I mentioned before I like to look at the news, see what's happening, and then sometimes the news has depressing shit in there. People dying and stuff. A lot of fucking pain in the world. And I mentioned looking up stats before. Gosh, do not look up stats of that terrible shit. Gosh, I remember going on like a couple of wiki binges. Like a whole day was just me reading ugly shit on the Wikipedia. And unless you're actively getting involved to try to stop that shit, probably stay far away from it. Or maybe if you're stronger mentally than a fuck up like me, I guess, then it won't be a problem. Then you're good to go. Doing finger guns in the air. Oh, now I'm reminded of that Outer Worlds game. I kind of want to see what that's about, eh? I don't know. So, yeah, December was pretty awful. That was the worst. Everything was pretty much uphill since then. But sort of like a slow improvement. Still bad, but not good, or well, good in comparison, really. But so anyway, you ever hear about a stranger dying and it fuck up your day? It didn't really happen to me. Like, I remember, Paul Walker died in what? Was that 2014? That went by so fast. I remember Paul Walker died and I forgot about it a month later. I really liked Paul Walker. I thought he was the best part of the Fast and the Furious movies. Like, damn! Now we have The Rock and Jason Statham for some reason. Why do they still have him around? His character was a bad guy, and now they're all good friends? What the fuck happened there? I'm going on a tangent. Don't want to do tangents. Can't do that. Takes away from the topic at hand. But it makes it easier to get through it, I guess. Huh. So anyway, on December 12th, a person died. I didn't read about it until the next day. So on December 13th, I read about this one girl who was living in Amsterdam at the time, and her roommate killed her. Oh, okay. That sucks. But, I read into it, and it's like, oh, well, this girl, Sarah, her name is Sarah Pappenheim, was Sarah Pappenheim. And basically, her roommate killed her. Which, okay, yeah, that sucks. But the article mentioned that the whole reason she was even over there to begin with is because her brother killed himself. What was that? It's oddly enough, my obsession with death. I read about people who die and I try to learn more about them. Probably not a good idea, but I feel like, you know what? People should remember them. That's fucking awful. But, her brother killed himself November 2nd? 3rd? I don't know. November 2016, I think. And him doing that basically made her change her career path to study psychology and try to stop people from killing themselves. So she was studying in Amsterdam for that stuff. And she was trying to help her crazy roommate, and he fucking killed her for it. So, it's just like, wow, that makes it so much more depressing. And I started reading more about her, looking up information, all that sort of shit. And part of me felt like I got to know her, which is a weird thing to say, but kind of sucks that she had to die for that to happen. Really. So that fucked me up for a little bit. I'm like, God damn it, dude. You just want to help people and you get killed for it? That guy's I don't even know what happened to that guy. Like, they arrested him, but I don't know what the progress is on that trial or anything. Fucking prick. Remember, there was also this other girl that died, a few days before that? Basically, there was this one girl who was pregnant. Don't remember her name. Usually I remember the names. But this one girl died. I think she was 16. And she was pregnant. She couldn't get an abortion. And the guy that knocked her up was very upsetty spaghetti. I think he had this giant Jufro or something. He stabbed her and then choked her with a scarf or something, and then he dumped her in a dumpster behind a diner or something like that. And I guess the autopsy said that, the autopsy specifically mentioned that she was being strangled as she bled out. I don't know which one killed her, but I guess that doesn't really matter. That sucks, dude. And this prick that killed her said something along the line, blah, 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 so I took action. What an asshole. Hope he gets shanked in jail or wherever he ends up. But yeah, I mean, that story I didn't find as depressing as the Sarah thing. The Sarah thing was on my mind for quite a bit, but I'm just explaining that I sort of got obsessive with this death shit. Oh, now I'm thinking about genocide. I remember reading about Crete, right? This is another tangent. Okay, I remember I watched an Imperator Rome video. Dude's talking about Crete, how Crete is this amazing thing. Oh, you know how the Romans stole everything from the Greeks? Well, it's possible the Greeks got their shit from the Cretans. Cretan? From the Crete, I don't know, the Crete people that got wiped out by the volcano or something. So I ended up reading about Crete, right? And then World War II slaughters and shit. Oh, gosh. Remember, that was one of the... after I started feeling... I'm doing air quotes again. After I started feeling better, I was like, oh, gosh, that sort of made the dark thoughts enter my brain again, which wasn't fun. But, it was all right. It was only a day. It was only a day. Um, so, moving away from Crete, December. December was the bad month. I mentioned the hours and hours of sitting and thinking of all the things. And I remember at one point I was pacing, not back and forth, but actually, I mean, I did that. I did a little bit of that too. I remember there were some times where I just went in the backyard and walked in circles, in the snow, to think, clear my head. And for a while, that sort of worked, to clear my head and think clearly. But then after a while, you know what? I was so sick and tired of the fucking cold. And I love the snow, but I just, it was too cold, man. I didn't want to put up with it anymore, so I stopped doing that. And then I sort of it's like, ooh, I'm afraid of getting too cold. Oh, no. So I didn't do that anymore. So, I was just walking in circles in the kitchen, counting the tiled floors. The tiled floors. Counting the tiles on the floor, taking laps. And, every 4 laps, right foot, left foot, every 4 laps, it would alternate the foot of the start of the next cycle. That's an odd detail. That's not important. That's just something I remember. And I remember during this moment of thinking and pacing, when I was going through these various phases, of, I was drowning in emotion and then not feeling anything at all, which was kind of great. And then, I'd sort of go back and forth a little bit. And I remember for a while, I couldn't figure out what was worse, to be drowning in sadness or just not feeling anything at all. And I remember thinking, oh man, this sucks. I don't want to feel anything. And then there were times where I didn't feel anything. And I was like, man, I wish I could feel anything at all. And I have come to the conclusion that it's worse just to be, it's worse to be drowning in sadness. Because at least when I feel nothing, I can still do something, Can still write. But when I'm sitting there crying on the couch, it's debilitating. You can't do anything like that. Real pain. And during those phases that I mentioned, there was also this moment where I think that this lasted for, maybe a few days, but basically my chest felt really constricted. There was a tightness there. And I could barely breathe. I'd sit at my computer and my breathing was very shallow and, it was whatever. I don't know. And then another one of the phases was I just stopped caring. This was the best part of my phase. My little phases there. Oh, they were great. Really fucking great. But I just stopped caring. It was actually quite liberating. I was like, you know what? I don't care. I'm ready to talk about this. But it was pretty late. And, people are either sleeping or they're far away. I can't just go, hey, you guys want to talk at 12? Actually, I don't remember what time it was. Might have been midnight. I don't know. I know it was late. I just know it was late. So I can't just hey, call someone up on the phone hey, can we talk about how miserable I am? I mean, they would probably do it, but, I wasn't. I didn't want to do that. But, yeah, I just remember being you know what? I'm good. I was hyped the fuck up. I was like, I am ready. Let's do this. But it's too late. So I waited. I'll call him later. So, a few hours go by and then, that liberated feeling slowly gone. And then the anxiety came back and then I wasn't ready anymore. which is a real bummer. Real fucking bummer. So December. Let's talk about when I was at my lowest point. This was during those phases I mentioned. The closest I have ever gotten to considering suicide, which, now that's not something that I want to do. I want to live. I do. I'm not happy, but I want to live. I don't need to add more pain into the world, because I feel like shit. Well, great. Now everyone who cares about me, now they're going to feel like shit too. I don't want to do that. Fuck that. But the closest I got was, okay, I don't remember if it was snowing, but there was a lot of snow outside. And I thought, you know what? Tonight I'm going to go out there and I'm going to sit in the snow. I don't know if I'm going to do anything, but I'm just going to sit there and see how I feel about it. Just kind of wanted to walk out there and just relax, in the freezing cold, if that can be relaxing. But I never went out that night. You see, I mentioned that I get obsessed. I like to think that I have OCD. I'm very obsessive about particular things. I haven't formally gone to a doctor like, hey, here are all the problems in my life. All my can you formally diagnose me with something? Haven't done that. All I know is that I've had these obsessive compulsive tendencies since like forever. And actually what I went through in middle school and high school actually attributed to more severity to the OCD and other things. So, like straightening things. Oh gosh. I do not miss having to straighten books and everything. I've actually been doing, every now and then I'll sometimes be like, when I have an urge to like change something, because like, oh, I need to fix that, I just walk away. Maybe I'll think about it for the next 2 minutes, but I'll forget about it soon enough. So that's kind of fun, trying to take care of that problem. But and I also, another one of my things that could be checked out is like, I find myself like really sensitive to light. I have the lights off all the time. I have my window covered. Don't like going outside. It just hurts. And when I walk around, I take my glasses off. There's less visual stimuli to process. So, I just hate the light. It just bugs the shit out of me. And, I said that I wanted to make this video for months now, but, there were things like, I couldn't really prepare myself or maybe find the way I want to say it and how much I want to say it. But, I'm tired all the time, not just like, I'm sleepy and I need to go to bed, but physically and mentally exhausted all the time. So I don't know, maybe I have chronic fatigue or something. I don't know. That's something that I should probably get checked out, but I don't know. Gosh, what was I saying? May have to do another rewind. Nope, got it. I was thinking about going out in the snow and sitting there, but I didn't because, going back to the obsessive, it's not just me obsessed with death and all that stuff, but, if I have a thought in my mind, it usually lingers there for a very long time. So I have to write a lot of stuff down. Gosh, actually, now I'm remembering in high school where I used to write a lot of... I had this, this agenda notebook thing. Just like, when I get home... Because this was back when I made Call of Duty videos. I had an idea. I was like, this could be something I talk about in a video. And I'd write down, like, giant lists and stuff. And game ideas and stuff. And just a bunch of things I would write down. And then I would flesh them out when I get home or whatever. So I was going to go out, but then I had an idea. And so I was like, well, shit, I'm not going to just go outside and sit in the snow when I have this fucking idea in my head. So I started writing And what was just going to be, okay, I'll write this idea down. And then it ended up becoming like, several hours of me at the computer typing shit. And then I didn't want to go out anymore. So that was great. That was good. Really do like writing. Gosh, now I gotta go pee. I've been drinking some water. Need to drink more. My mouth is getting dry. So let's see. I think that sums up December. Nope. There's more in December. I went to a Christmas party. At least I think it was Christmas. I'm thinking it was Christmas and not Christmas Eve. I'm thinking it was Christmas Day. It doesn't. I guess that really doesn't matter. But I like to be correct. I don't like to make assumptions about my flawed memory. Because if I'm unsure, then I don't like to say anything at all. I'd rather not say it than be wrong. But so there was a Christmas party at some grandparents' house, and I went. I wanted to go, so I went. But in the past, every time I've gone to like these Christmas parties, which I believe usually were on Christmas Eve, but every time I went to them, I didn't want to be there. And when I was there, I just like sit in a corner with my head down because, I can't even talk to family members because of my social anxiety. Yeah, I don't know. So I went there this time. Oh, I did actually skip a story detail too. So I'll get back to that. It's about moving. Got to make that note. So if I do forget and rewind, then I have that reminder there in the video. So I went there, and as soon as I went inside, I did not like it. Because basically they have this basement, right? And that's where they all hang out. That's like their recreation. Why am I doing air quotes for recreation room? That's literally what it is. They have a pool table. I think they have a guitar in the corner. They have a dartboard, cupboard with food and snacks. Another room. You get this double door thing that opens up into another room that has like a rocking chair in it. Big fur covered rocking chair. Not fur, but it's a chair. It's a normal fucking cushion chair. I don't know, and it rocks. I think you might be able to lean back. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. These details don't matter. It's just another room that they can smoke in and stuff if they want to, or they can go outside because there's a little staircase that goes outside, back door thing. So as I was approaching the basement, I can hear everyone talking and shit, and I was like, oh no, the anxiety's coming. I was like, you know what? Suck it up, bitch. So I started going down the stairs, and as soon as I got down the stairs, I was like, well, this was like, I didn't make it very long. A few seconds go by, and I just walked back up the stairs. That was the quickest I have ever left that sort of environment. So what I did was I left the house and I started pacing back and forth in the snow, to think and stuff. However, I was in the middle of a fucking panic attack, which doesn't happen very often. It's only happened a couple of times in a recent memory here. But basically, I was having that panic attack, so I left the house. And when I got outside, I'm freaking out. And, another one of my fears, phobias, whatever irrational fear thing you want to call it. Oh, gosh, do I want to reveal this? Because it's sort of it's humiliating. It really is. Sometimes the sky scares me. It's a big fucking void, and sometimes it scares me when I look up at it. Sometimes I don't have to look up at it. Like, I still remember the first time I felt that fear. And I remember various other times. I remember in fucking gym class. No, not gym class. Gotta back it up. I remember leaving one time. I spent the night, because back then in school, this was in high school. Back then, my mom and my stepdad had this like little shop on like some little hill. And I remember I spent the night there, came out in the morning, and that was the first time I felt that. Um, Walked at the door, and I like paused for a minute, and I turned around and backtracked and whatever. And I remember my mom was like, "What? Are you afraid to get in the car now?" I'm like, "No." And then I just went in the car. Didn't say anything else about it. Um, and then other times I felt it in gym class, where we're walking outside on the track and I'm like, oh God. So I think for like, half the class, for the remainder of the class, I'm sitting there walking by myself, freaking the fuck out about the goddamn sky. I tell you, it feels like these weird phobias and shit just kept cropping up over the years. It's also large bodies of water, but luckily, we don't live on like a water planet. Well, I mean, 70% of water, but there's not a whole lot of water in everyday life for me. So, I don't have to worry about that. A pool in the backyard, well, whatever. I don't need to swim in it. It's fine. Giant lake or a beach, whatever. I'm not going to go there. So it's not going to, that problem is just not going to exist for me. I don't have a desire to go swim in a beach or wherever. But yeah, there were a couple of times where I freaked out in a pool and freaked out because of the sky. And I remember this other time, went to a fireplace. It was nighttime. You could see stars in the sky. It's worse. It's actually worse for me at night. I don't know. The black void with stars is worse than just the blue sky. So yeah, I remember that fireplace time I experienced it. It was actually one of the times I had a panic attack, but the panic attack was actually unrelated to that, and I'm not going to talk about what caused it. But there was an argument between some other people, and that freaked me the fuck out. But I'm not going to go into details. So basically, back to Christmas, I left the house freaking out, having the panic attack, and then all of a sudden now the sky is freaking me out at the same time. And I remember saying to myself, no, not right now. Please, not right now, you fucking bullshit. So I remember just sitting there for a little bit, like holding on to the side of the house, grabbing because I'm losing my shit. And then after I, regained my composure, if that's how I want to call it, I don't know. But after that, that's when I started pacing and shit. So, that was like one of those times where counting your steps and like clearing a path in the snow, it's a decent way to distract my mind from that shit. So now that sums up December, but I remembered the moving thing. So I moved in late November. I mentioned delaying it by a couple weeks because I wanted to fucking get my cat back. But when I finally did move, I was actually like, I didn't expect this to happen, but as soon as I got back to where I'm living now, it was like a bunch of painful memories started flowing back, which I didn't expect would happen. So I think for a couple of weeks, this also, carries into December. So, more of those problems just stacking on top of other problems, stacking on other problems, and so on and so forth. So, I just had this severe anxiety. I'm like, oh, great. I'm back in town where my life was ruined. That's great. I missed it so much. So I thought about school a lot. And then I ended up like looking up old classmates. Like, I wonder what they're up to. And for a second I was like, oh my God, he died? But no, it was actually, it was someone else. Actually, I don't know. Like, if any of my classmates died, I don't know. I really don't. But I remember reading about this one thing, and it was like his grandparent, because this one kid Like they keep reusing the same name in the family, so it was like hard to differentiate them. But I solved it. It wasn't the one I was thinking of. And I remember going through old shit from school and other things. I found like a box full of like slips from when I used to go bowling, like scorecards. That's it. Found old essays from school. I'm like, oh wow, I'm back down memory lane, and they were some awful fucking essays. Holy shit. I remember in 11th grade, I actually wrote about my fear of heights and the social anxiety and other things for English class, but don't remember what else was in there. And then I actually, when I went to college, I just redid that essay because I didn't want to make a new essay because I don't know what to write about. So I just redid the same essay from high school. That was an easy grade, but it was great though because what I wrote about actually, because we were supposed to be doing these presentations in college, in this English class in college, and well, I didn't do the presentations. The teacher came up to me, he's like, "Hey, so I read your thing. You don't have to do that if you don't want to." I'm like, oh, okay, sure, thanks. That's good. So yeah, moved back. All these things resurface. Look up shit. I actually found some essays where I was like, wow, you know what? I could use this for my writing. That's kind of insightful, even though it was bad writing, but there were some thoughts and ideas in there that did work. Gosh, there was even this one stupid one about like, oh, here's how this year changed. Like, what? I wrote about Osama bin Laden? Like, what? Okay. It was really awful writing. Really awful. Just, I don't know how to phrase how awful it was. Like, I did not know how to write or describe things, really. Gosh, I gotta go pee so fucking bad, but we're not done yet. And I don't want to stop in the middle of this because then it'll fuck up my thought process. Because remember, earlier, I was sitting in bed for several minutes trying to just start a fucking intro because I haven't talked to myself in my room for a while. I felt weird. It still kind of feels weird, but I'm in the flow now, so it's all right, I guess. So yeah, a little bit after moving back, didn't feel too great. With that new problem. So now November is taken care of, and December's taken care of. But yeah, in December, I did want a therapist. That's when I realized that I wanted a therapist. November was when I realized that I was depressed again. Because, you got to let it soak in a little bit. Yeah, soak in. Is that how I want to phrase it? You need to let some time pass so that you know whether or not it's like, oh, I'm just feeling sad today or tomorrow versus like a what's the fucking term? A depression episode? Is that what the fucking wiki calls it? I don't know. I remember reading a whole bunch of wiki pages like, hey, cool, I have symptoms that could cover any dozen number of topics. That's great. That doesn't help me at all. Oh, look at this psychological disorder. I could have that. I could also have this one that's very similar. It's like, oh my god, maybe I should just go to a doctor, which I haven't done yet. If I will at all, I don't know. So, yeah. Let's see. January, February. I gotta be honest. I don't remember anything about those 2 months. I was probably doing a whole lot of writing, though. Trying to turn something negative into something positive. I mean, it's really the best I can do if I'm not feeling talking to people for help. Oh, yeah, I definitely was writing in February. Because I remember there was that... What was the school shooting? What was the school shooting? It was on Valentine's Day, February 14th. What was the... Because the school had a name, but everyone referred to the shooting as, like, the town name or something. I don't remember. But... it was the one with David Hogg. Yeah, I remember just writing a note about that somewhere. So yeah, I was definitely writing during that period. March, March. Yeah, a couple of things about March. I remember reading about because I started. I was because when I write, I sort of go through different moods or phases or whatever you want to call it, where like, oh well, today I feel like writing about my little teen drama thing. I'm doing fucking more gestures with my hands, like I'm slamming on a keyboard with my fingers. But sometimes I'm in a Star Trek mood, so I'll be writing Star Trek. And I remember reading about uh, what's the fucking thing? What's that awful disease where like your body develops like this thick mucus and it fucks up your lungs and you can't breathe right and all this other shit. And Claire Wineland had it. She died. She died September 2nd. I think she died September 2nd, 2018. Um, which reminds me that person I mentioned dying in November before. If Claire died on September 2nd, then I don't think that other guy died on November 2nd. Uh, later in the month, I believe. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Going on all over the place. What is it? It's bother whatever. I remember reading about that shit. That was another sad moment for me, but in March. But it didn't last that long. It was all right. Um, you know what? I'm getting up. I gotta look it up. I gotta check my document. All right, I am back. Cystic fibrosis. That's what it was. So I was writing Star Trek, right? And in one of the stories, it's a prequel and based in the late 2060s, and it carries over into the early 2070s. I wanted it to be like, let's see, the Kzinti Wars and, post World War III and the fallout from all that shit. Felt like that was a good setting to look into. And I knew one of the characters that I wanted to do as like a side character was to have a sick kid. Just a 16-year-old girl who's dying. And then I read about Claire Wineland and cystic fibrosis, and I even saw some fucking inspirational videos of hers. That's one of the weird things too. Like I have seen inspirational, motivational, whatever. I've seen videos that's like, oh, man, some people like look at that and changes a whole new outlook on their life. And then I look at it and it's like, okay, I hear what you're saying. It makes sense, but I don't hold on to it. Never, that kind of stuff never helped me. But so I read about cystic fibrosis. I read about Claire Wineland, and I remember finding this blog. It was something about like with every breath I take. It was about this girl named Jordan. She had a sibling with cystic fibrosis too. She was so 2 out of 3 kids had that fucking thing in one family. Couldn't find any more information on this Jordan. I just know that their name was Jordan. And they had cystic fibrosis, and they decided that they were going to stop. They weren't going to get treatment anymore. They already had like 2 failed transplants, and they felt like they didn't want to go through another one. They wanted to give someone else a chance. So they accepted death, which I think is something, huh? But I'm thinking that was in 2014. It was a pretty old blog. Maybe it was 2015, 2016, somewhere around there. So I read all this stuff about it, which fucked me up for a little bit. But it helped influence me for the kind of character that I wanted in this story. Why the fuck am I talking about this character again? Oh, well, okay, it's just one of those tangents, right? But yeah, that screwed me up for a little bit. But it's great. I feel like I got a good character out of it. So, I can't really call it a regret that I spent a day reading depressing shit. Whew. But hey, if I'm gonna read depressing shit, then I may as well do something with that information, So, let's see. So that was in March when I read about it. Read up on that stuff. Although, I feel like I read about Claire Wineland in the past, but I don't remember when. Because, I went to the... I felt like there was something familiar about her. Maybe I read about her in passing. I probably read about her when she died, because she was apparently, pretty popular, and she had a charity and stuff, and she did YouTube videos and all that. So I probably read about her when she died in September, and then just kind of forgot about it. And by late March, I realized I was feeling better. But in the back of my mind, because, all of my problems are still there, I didn't solve anything. I'm doing fucking air quotes again. What? I literally didn't solve any. Why would I need to do air? I don't know. I should put a fucking counter in the corner of the screen of how many times I do air quotes and then talk about how I'm doing gestures and shit. Whatever, but... what the hell was I saying? I just distracted myself. Hang on a second. All right. So what I was going to say is because those problems of mine still existed, it was only a matter of time before all the negative thoughts came rushing back. And that scared the shit out of me, and it still does, but I was good for a bit. I was pretty good. Fuck, I was excited. I remember telling some people, I was like, man, I feel good today. But what the fuck is that? What the hell was that? Is my phone dying? Hang on a second. Just heard it. No, I don't know what the hell that was. I heard a beep, and I don't know what the hell it was. Fucking microwave spy cameras is what it must have been. Getting me all the way from the fucking kitchen. And I'm on the second floor. I tell you, they got some advanced stuff these days. Those spy microwaves. That's a reference, by the way. I think Trump said something about that. Gosh, what a character. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's actually when I started reading about the World War II Crete stuff, shortly after, late March. But so April, what happened in April? What did happen in April? My 1-year anniversary of writing Star Trek fan fiction. Oh boy, that's what it was. Man, I tell you though, that has come a long way. So anyway, April. Not a whole lot happened in April, but I do remember a couple of days of sadness, and then also just recently, the other day, actually, I was having a bad day. That's the thing. There doesn't have to be a specific thing that causes it. It's just the thoughts. They just come in and, day's ruined. So for the first time in a while, what was it, 2 days ago? I don't know. It was recent. And for the first time in a while, I just kind of went around pacing outside and maybe sitting on the porch and just staring off into the distance like that 1,000-yard stare thing that people do. Well, that actually reminds me, I went and visited. I remember this was actually back near Christmas. I remember visiting some family members with my dad. And I did the same thing there too. Just kind of sat on the couch and stared off distantly. I do a whole lot of that. I used to do that in school too. Actually, it actually wasn't that bad going there. I didn't do a whole lot at first, but then I played Cards Against Humanity That was kind of fun. Um, so anyway, yeah, I had a bad day the other day. Kind of feeling better now, but for for a couple of days, from the moment I woke up and went to bed, it's just all that shit is up there, floating around. But hopefully, doing this video can help alleviate that, because I don't want it anymore. It's been in my head for all these years, and then the modern stuff since November, and I just don't want to deal with it anymore. So I don't know. So there probably were a few things I forgot. I don't know. This was a lot messier than I thought it would be. I was really hoping that I could have had my thoughts more organized, but that's the thing. When I'm sitting on a couch for 5 hours and just thinking to myself, it's real easy to get that shit on lockdown. And then once you start saying it out loud, that's when everything changes. So, I mean, I guess I'll end it here. Make some last words. I mean, make sure you watch Avengers Endgame at the theaters. Make sure it beats the Blue People movie. Fuck you, Avatar. I guess that's really all I have to say. No, there's some other things I could say. So right now, what am I feeling right now? Yeah, I don't want to leave that out. So, while I'm better now, I'm not good. It's relative. Let's see. I still feel lonely sometimes. Still remember all the regrets. But it gets better. So, something to look forward to.